Good morning, everyone. I recognize the high table, although it's in its absence. Just to say that we want to congratulate TIBA for this conference. We are delighted as strategists to have been the main sponsor. We recognize greatly the role that brokers play in growing insurance. We recognize the challenges that are there in growing insurance in this market, but I think that together we can actually take this challenge hands on and be able to make a difference. When I was reading the 2017 TIRA report, it shows that penetration was at 0.55% measured against GDP. To me, what it means potentially is that if we are to grow the market by only 1% of GDP, then the penetration would make the market right about 1.4 to 1.5 trillion. And that's huge. I know Fiki was saying earlier on that, look, brokers have been losing market share, share in terms of contribution to premiums. But I think what I've always learned is that you cry because of what when you lose something that you have, that's when you can cry. But if you don't have, you don't have to cry. I think you have to look forward and say, what is the opportunity? And I think together we can then be able to harness that opportunity and be able to develop. And I think that for us, and I think I can speak on behalf of all the other insurers in the room, is that I think there is an opportunity for us to cooperate and work together. There are a number of areas that I think we need to tackle. One of those is product innovation. There's also an area of product distribution that I think we need to also look at. I think there's also an area of how to use technology to be able to access new markets. I think those are some of the areas I know already some of the brokers have been working on and engaging insurers into that. So we would want to cooperate and support, and I think as Strategies Insurance, we are delighted that we would be able to work with you in that sphere. I think one of the interesting words I've picked from today, this year's conference theme is poverty. I think that it's a very complex word. I don't know whether we all know. You will find that the IMF or the World Bank will give you some definition of what poverty is. But I think that we need to look at poverty in our own context as Africans and say, how do we define it, and therefore how do we respond in addressing that? And until we understand that, it's very difficult for us to then be able to come up with products and services that will address that. So I think we need to be able to cooperate and work on that, and I'm hoping that the conference speakers will be able to at least guide us into that space and be able to really open our minds in terms of what else we can do. As strategies, we're quite happy if, for example, TIBA say that in the next conference there is specific discussion around this particular theme, because I think it's not a small thing. It's a journey. We are quite willing to actually also put in some small sponsorship around that, so that we can take this forward. Because only today I was reading about the cyclone in Mozambique, that about 6 million people are suffering, and I think that they need about close to about $7 billion to sort out that. And you'll find that the people who are affected are those people who are really off the grid, and those are the people we are talking about, and those are the people we live with and we grew up with in the villages. And how do we then, as insurers, address that? One of the challenges I also find as insurance practitioners is that we lag behind when it comes to banking. Banking in financial inclusion, banking moves much faster than us. So how do we create traction and be able to start also moving in the same pace? Because I cannot imagine an economic growth without insurance. It cannot happen. And therefore, let's cooperate and work together. And I'm hoping that this particular conference will take us to that level and be able to drive us to what we need to achieve as insurance not only in Tanzania but also in the entire market. To conclude, I want to say that as strategies we are supporting a charity, an NGO called Green Steps. Green Steps is an environmental organization that aims at creating awareness by encouraging eco-friendly practices through recycling and art. They are committed to the future of recycling, and what they've done is they've identified young Tanzanians who are artists, and they are using discarded flip-flops to design beautiful decorative pieces of work. And as part of your giveaways from Cadence of Strategies, we'll be giving you these giveaways. And I'm also hoping that TIBA can also tag onto their website so that we can also create more awareness in terms of living in an eco-friendly manner. Thank you very much.